Welcome back, YouTube. This is King's Court. I am Shrine King, and we are doing yet another review of actually a review and guide of a tank within World of Tanks. So this one is the HT number 6, and it is a heavy tank that is modeled off of the Tiger 1 that was converted for Japan. So this tank is a premium. And now, just bear in mind, for those that are new to this, I'm going to do a full guide, kind of saying how to play the tank. Also, I'm going to do a review to say, is the tank worth it? What are the pros and cons of the tank, so on and so forth, so that you can better evaluate whether or not it is a tank that you would want to buy. And then I'm giving like a best guideline from my side to say, is it really worth it to buy, even if it's maybe not necessarily your style. And the reasons behind that would be, right? So that those are the things that I'm doing here. So to start off, this tank is, again, it's modeled off the Tiger 1. So for all intents and purposes, the Tiger 1, the Tiger 131, which is a premium version of the Tiger 1, and then this HT number 6, these are all essentially the same thing. Like, all the stats are the same. There really is very much difference. The only part that would be difference is in the real line. You have the intro side of it, and then the end game side of it, where I should say end game, but it's when you actually unlock all those modules and stuff like that for it. So there's different performance in every tank when you go to do that. For the premiums, though, you already have set modules and equipment already set up. So now, pros to this tank. It has good view range. It has a really, really nice gun. Very accurate, very quick aim time, quick reload, good damage, and good penetration. And at its tier, it has good armor. Now that said, what's weird is its angling is something to be sought for, I should say. So the angles are actually really flat. Where this thing holds a benefit is, and you'll see here what I'm doing, rather than me poke out, like coming straight across, or side scraping type stuff, I just actually pulled straight out, leaving my corner towards them. And that's actually because that is the proper angling for this tank. That is actually the way that it holds the highest armor value. Sadly, though, that also means it is the lowest armor value right at the corner that you point at them. So if you have your left or right corner at someone in the front, that's actually the spot that they're going to want to hit you at. Now, it's also very mobile for a heavy tank. As you saw, I was able to kind of get over here no problem. If I would actually push with the other side, I would have been up there a little behind the mediums, so not as fast as a medium, but I would still be getting there. And the nice parts there is that means that this tank can actually maneuver around and can get around to attack people. Now there you'll see I didn't really aim in. I didn't think I was going to have a lot of time left, especially since it looked like you'd already crossed the tracks. So I'm just playing this so the play style here is I'm not being very aggressive, because as I mentioned, for a heavy, this has got decent armor at the tier. In other tiers, it does not. It just does not hold up. Almost mediums, lights, stuff like that, they can all pen this tank once they're like tier 7, tier 8. So that kind of brings me into the cons of this tank. While it is a heavy, to me it's not a heavy. It plays more like a medium. And the reason being is because with this tank, once you see tier 7, tier 8, which you will, they are majorly going to be able to pen you almost from every angle possible, so it makes it very difficult to survive. It has okay hit points, but not great, so that goes to the same sense. The survivability, which is typically what you're looking for in a heavy, is not too great in this tank. Now, at the other side of that, your camo is not very good. That's a big con. All heavies camos are not very good. So even though this thing has mobility and good eyes, you will still get spotted quite easily from most tanks. But here, to the same sense of what I mentioned, now you'll see I'm splitting the target. Here's another tank that's at my tier, Dicker Max, and like I mentioned with the angling, right? So here I took it right into the track, no big deal. But you'll see I'm able to aim at these targets not really a harsh point for this. So like it's easy to aim at them. I'm typically going to get a hit, and you saw there's like 200 alpha per target I'm hitting. So, and that's where this tank does shine. So if you can get this tank, stay kind of like outside of the typical view range, help support your team more like a sniper, it's actually really good. It plays really well. And that's based on, it's the pros and cons of the tank. So because of the cons of the tank, like I said, I wouldn't really go rushing in and charging as a heavy. Obviously, that's also in judgment. So like if it turns out your team doesn't really have a lot of heavies and you know that your heavies are going to be doing a push, you probably still want to be there to support the heavies, so you might be a little more exposed than you want to be. But I would emphasize on letting the ones with actual better armor make the push, and you be there more to support them. And if you can, try using their bodies as cover, right? So either the back end of them or front end, depending on the tank that you're running with. Now, as a premium, this tank does generate good return, right? Because you can do consistent damage, the reload's pretty fast, you have good accuracy, good penetration. That all helps with bringing in more silver on a premium. Now, the key component to this, as I mentioned, there's this one actually levels out to where like your pros and cons are really similar. So it's not really like some of the other reviews that I've done before, where I said, well, it actually turns out this tank has so many pros, there's no way that you would argue to say that you shouldn't have it. This tank, though, a key thing to bear in mind is it is a Japanese heavy premium, and currently it is the only Japanese premium heavy you can get. That alone can make it worth it for some people. If you are interested in the Japanese heavy line, which I know a lot of people are, especially considering it's basically like a KV2 going through all the way from tier, like, what is it, 6 to 10. Yeah, I mean, this is your one to train crew and racking credits for it. So on that note, I would say yes, it is definitely worth it. I would probably wait till it's on sale, as I recommend for most tanks, but I emphasize a little more on this one because when you compare it to other ones, if you're really just trying to say, hey, I want the biggest money earners, I wouldn't say this is really it, because again, like, your survivability is low, and there's other tanks out there that are they're better performers. So now kind of getting more into the guide side of things. So like I said, this is a guide and review, kind of like, is it worth it, but then also saying how to play it. So you'll see there I did really well in the tank. I was third on my team, and I did use the advantage of like my team pushing on the side, and I helped support and try to flank. And again, like I said, this is definitely worth it, because here you'll see, like I said, it's the only one. Right? You have a medium, another medium, but you only have one heavy to pick from, and it helps you go down that line. So like when you get to like the OI experimental, right? So tier 5 and or actually I think even the tier 4 is a heavy. So like going down that line, it's worth having the premium to help you get through that and get your crew skills up. So as a guide, like I said, you play this tank more towards support. So it's much like a medium in that sense. Now, you can't really do it like a medium for the most part. For example, there are a lot of mediums that are hit and run tactics, so they can actually start from one side of the map and move all the way to the other side of the map and continue to punish the enemy. This is not the tank for that. This is more like pick a side and maybe flex to the middle. Now that said, if you can choose the middle, that is optimal for this tank. If you can support from the middle and crossfire both the left and right flanks, that is great, because then if one flank is losing, you can flex to that flank, and that way you always have that option. In the event that that's not the case, right, then you have to pick a side, and I don't recommend trying to flex the entire map, because the tank, while it is maneuverable, it's not that fast. And that'll be the problem that you'll run into, is you'll actually spend more time trying to get around than actually get into combat. Now, you'll see here in the front of the tank, like I said, there's a lot of weak points, so that if you're facing directly at someone, the lower glacis of most German tanks are always a weak spot, so this already suffers from that. You got those big viewports, easy to see. You got the cupola on the top. So there's a lot of things people can aim at to really penetrate this tank. And that's actually why when you're playing it, as I mentioned before, so like most heavies, you actually kind of angle from your opponent like 20 degrees, maybe 30 degrees. This tank, you actually want to angle like 55 to like 45 degrees. So it looks ridiculous. So like most people are like, oh wow, they're giving me this side. And it's actually because when they give the side like that in this tank, you actually, it's most likely going to deflect. And then it makes it to where that corner is really strong on the the farther back, but at the very front of that corner is actually going to be the weakest spot. But it also means that people trying to aim at that corner, they always have the issue that they might not hit right on that corner and it'll just deflect the shot anyway. So that's actually how you play this tank as a heavy when you're trying to use your armor, right? So that's the armor absorption side of it. So here you'll see I'm in a match where I am not top tier, right? So there are tier 7s, so I already know. So like I said, tier 7, tier 8s against this tank, pretty much guaranteed they're gonna pen you. I do believe precursor models to these tanks used to have preferential to where you wouldn't see tier 8s. I don't think that exists anymore. I'm still debating on some of that aspect because I know I've heard of that. But it just doesn't make sense to me because you still have preferential matchmaking and then the tanks are boosted in performance. So, and I know they're trying to figure stuff out here. So here's the perfect point of the statement I made. While yes, this thing you want to keep the distance, you can be a sniper and all that stuff, and it has good view range, it does not have good camo. It is a heavy, so it will not have that. So right there, I got spotted. Sure enough, they're going to aim it at me. I'm a big target. Why wouldn't they? And now I'm, just moving up. So like again, you'll see I stopped and I'm already catching up with all these guys, right? So that's the difference in the speed of this tank. It's got a great engine. It does pick up and go, right? So here I am. I'm catching up with them. So that's good. And I mean, even that medium there, right? Well, not that the Italians are known for their amazing medium speed at the lower tiers. They become really good at higher tiers, but I'm catching up there. So here, I see the guys that are, and again, remember I said play it as support, right? So yes, I'm pushing up. Yes, I'm on the front line. Is that ideal? No. But again, we don't have as much pushing power as I'd like to see on this side, and I saw them all go to that other side. I can maneuver around, pop in a shot, back it off, keep the pressure on that flank. That is a supportive heavy. That's what I'm aiming for here. And again, like I said, based on this corner, right, I can actually do some tricks to aim out. Now here's unideal, right? So I'm aiming at him, but I'm facing him. I should have actually already cut to the angle that I'm at now. So like now I'm doing it right. I cut that angle, and I'm able to pop in, take a shot. Now here, cut in the angle. And then, but I still take it. So here's the case, right? So this guy is tier 6, but he's English, and those tanks have high penetrations. So even though, yes, I angled properly and so on and so forth, didn't matter. He can still penetrate my armor because this thing does not have good armor. Now, the other thing to do with this thing is because it's mobile, right? It's really good, and you'll see right there. Hey, that was nice because I was able to snipe with it, and pick out a weak spot. Now here, I'm not going to be able to really stop a Tiger P. He's tier 7. He's got a way better gun when it comes to penetration. So the nice part though is this tank can bait, right? So if you do have teammates around that are better armored, better guns, tank destroyers lined up, so on and so forth, it has the mobility to bait. And most players when fighting it don't realize it, right? Because they come to chase and they don't realize how fast you can back out, or move away from them, right? And when that happens, that's typically when they get screwed. So here I waited, I saw that, hey, my team's pushing, right? So again, I'm being supportive. I know, hey, this guy turned. He's most likely looking the other way. And sadly, I should have waited and paid attention to where I could have shot there. And here he comes. Yep, taking another shot. And again, I should have waited a little longer, but I was hoping to kill him so that he didn't hit me. Now I pushed him because I also know artillery is aiming it. And again, here's that mobility, right? So I pushed. I'm already up to 27 kilometers. Even artillery couldn't keep up with the change there. So then they actually missed. Lucky for me, because I'm so close to dead, there's no way I was coming out of that if the artillery even touched me with the splash. Now, with that said, this match, the first match obviously was a prime time show and demonstration of how good this can go, right? This one is kind of showing, this is okay performance. I really did work with my team. Am I going to pull in massive damage? No, but I did get damage comparable to my health, so that's good. You also see that I had a lot of shots that I just didn't get good RNG on. So, like I said, play it mobile, play it kind of like a medium. Not necessarily full hit and run, but more of a supportive, heavy. Try to use the sniping, stay out of line of sight if you can. Farther back is actually probably going to be better. And always remember, when we say out of sight, the white circle, that's maximum view range. If you are outside of that, you are in your prime spot for this tank, because now it's just radioed in targets. And I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope it's helping you. Please, again, like, subscribe, let me know what you think, and I'll catch you on the flip side.